Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Linda Sue Plants for You. This morning I'm going to talk about the variegated curly lipstick. What you're looking at right now are the cuttings that I took, and the reason for that is I'm trying desperately to save this plant. It's very hard to come by, and the few that I have found on the internet are quite expensive. There was one picture on there that looked like a big, beautiful full plant, but when you read in the fine print, the cuttings were actually, what they had for sale were just unrooted cuttings. I wouldn't suggest buying those. These are not easy to root. Now, I did try this once before in water with just a few pieces, and one of my viewers, thankfully, had made the comment that perhaps my cuttings were too long and that she had really good luck in making them. I believe it was 3 to 6 inches or something in that length. So most of these I cut back to about that size. I got a few long ones in here, but I didn't have the heart to cut them down any shorter because they're so pretty. But I cut these all off. First I watered my plant very well to make sure that the leaves were good and hydrated. And that's true anytime you're going to take cuttings from a plant. You should always water it. And I hate when I say always because then there'll be an exception. And off the top of my head, I can't think of any plant that doesn't apply to. But to give your plant the best shot at developing roots, you don't want it to be spending time trying to keep these hydrated while they're trying to develop roots. So it's always a good idea to water your plant real well before you take cuttings. Usually I try to do it the night before and to give it a lot of time to get a drink and be at its optimal, health, moisture-wise, as we can. And then I just did as we always do, and maybe I'll just take one out to show you. There is no special way to cut these, okay? You can cut them anywhere on the stem. And just take the bottom leaves off. You never want the leaves to be sitting in water because they will rot and that'll create other problems for you. But this is about the length of some of the pieces. And then I put it in a little rooting powder. I don't know if that works or not, folks. I've had just as good a luck with plants with and without it, but every once in a while it does seem to make a difference. Another plant that I can tell you that it did make a difference on was my Scindaptus exotica. I could not get that to root, and then I kept trimming the bottom of that stem and sticking it in rooting powder, and then I finally got roots on it. So I guess it can make a difference with some plants. But anyways, because I'm so at my end of my rope and don't want to lose this plant, I wanted to give it every possible chance. So I did use rooting powder on these. A little background here. These plants are hard to find, and the few that I have found on the internet were very expensive. So I'm going to just suggest to you that if you can find one of these, grab it up, because I know a lot of people are looking for them, and you might even be able to sell, you might be able to start your own plants and sell them if you're into that sort of thing, or swap it out with somebody for another plant that maybe they have that you would like. But just wanting to let you know here that the original plant, and I'm going to show you that. This is the size pot it came in. It was huge, it was full, and like I said, at some point in this video I will put that picture up there. I may already have done that by the time we get to this point of this video. So it was beautiful and full, and the key to these plants is keeping them moist and keeping bright light at the top. And that's really true with almost any kind of hanging plant or strings of, you know, the Senecio family. They really need to have that bright light at the top of the soil where you want new shoots to come out. And it was working for me for a while until I got that horrible case of thrips. I've been up and down with this plant since then, and right now it's, as you can see, this is what I have left. I haven't got the heart to throw this away, and although I didn't leave any leaves remaining on here, there's still a very healthy root system in here, and I started to pull these out, and I was going to just pot these individually, but I just discovered that was not probably the best way to go. So I'm going to leave this the way it is in this pot, and I am going to continue to put a little water in every once in a while. It's important at this point not to overwater because there's no leaves on here and I don't want it to rot out. But I'll throw her a little bit of water every now and then and see if I get any new growth coming from underneath. And hopefully I will. If not, well, then I've done everything I can to bring her back to life. But I'm pretty confident that I will see some growth coming out. But in the meantime, I didn't want to just continue to let this decline. So I took these out, and some of these stems were very long. They were from the top of this plant all the way down to the floor. They were really long stems. But there was only a few of them. And as you'll see in the picture, at one point I did have a lot of lipstick flowers on this plant, so she was very beautiful and healthy at one point. So I'm hoping that these will root and I can start them out in a smaller pot and just start over with her. I mean, you know, it's going to take a while, I imagine, for her to get roots. Now, I did root up 3 pieces. I should have brought them with me here. I rooted up 3 pieces that were about this long. And all 3 of them took. So I'm going to leave those in that pot for now. And if these root, well, let's think positive. When these root up, then we'll put them all together in a smaller hanging basket and start over with her. By the way, on those other 3 cuttings, I did get some, I got 6 lipstick flowers on them. So they're doing good. And I have them under a LED light, not a grow light, just a regular LED light, and the leaves are all real dark, very beautiful in color, probably because I have it too close to the light, but then I don't know, because it gave me flowers. And that's the other thing I want to mention about this plant. When I first got her, I did some research because I wanted to give her the optimal care, and the information on her was kind of all over the place. There was a few sites where it said they like medium to bright light. There was a couple that said they like very bright light or bright indirect light. And like I said, when she was doing her best, I had her in a south window, about not even a foot from the glass. And it was during the winter time, so the leaves on the trees outside of our house were not impeding. It wasn't baffled light. It was straight on southern light, and she liked it. The problem is, back in June of last year, I ended up in the hospital for 5 days, and during that time, my family was trying to take care of my plants, and as we all know, that can be a difficult task for someone who's not, you know, well-versed in plants, and even if they are, if I had to go to somebody's house and take care of their plants, it might be a little more difficult for me than for the mom of the plants, because we get to know our plants just like our children. And I know I use this analogy often, but it's so true. I mean, you can have the same exact plant in one house, and it requires different, let's say, watering than your neighbor. a lot of that has to do with the temperature of your home, the atmosphere of your home. You know, do people smoke in the house? Do you do a lot of cooking where there's a lot of smoke in the house from that cooking? You know, fried foods or baking something in the oven where you have food that didn't quite come off and it's still cooking and your house is filling up with smoke. I've been there, done that. So, you know, that all affects the air quality of your plants. And even just the difference between electric heat and gas heat can make a difference. Some plants, by the way, are very, very sensitive to natural gas. So if you have a plant near your stove, I've got a 6-burner gas stove, and I've tried several different plants on top of it that just did not do well. So I'm now put a Hartley philodendron up there because they're pretty hardy. And I think it's the gas. You know, you got a little bit of gas fumes escaping before it actually ignites, and that might be just enough to do damage. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that our atmospheres in our home are different for everybody. So what might be the right advice for me, and as far as my plant is concerned, may not be the right advice for you. So I try to give pointers and things to help you, but I want to caution again, you know, do not take my word as gospel. Do your own research, folks, and just pay attention to your plants. They will tell you if they're not happy. You'll know, and if you keep an eye on them, and you don't have to do it 24/7. You don't even have to do it every day. But the more you look at your plants, the sooner you will be able to tell when something's going wrong. Now, I guess your question's going to be, well, if that's true, then how did your plant get in such bad shape? Well, those of you that follow me and subscribe to my channel know that I've got a lot of major health issues here. So sometimes life is really challenging for me, but I don't dwell on that. I keep pushing forward and do what I can. And sometimes that's not even enough. So there are days when I feel very guilty because I'm sitting in a chair and I can't go and look at my plants. I can't tend to them. And when those bouts happen, my hubby will help me as best he can. But he's got a lot on his plate right now, so I don't even like to ask him. And although he would never say no or ever complain, I don't want to add another burden to his life. So I do the best I can. And sometimes it's just, maybe I can get 3 plants watered that day, maybe none. So during those times, like I said, when I have an issue like I have with this one, especially this one, because I worked so hard at reviving this from the thrips and from the you know, when it got overwatered and underwatered, as did several of my other plants. My hubby tried to help, so he just went up and started watering everything, whether it needed it or not. And then when my kids realized what was going on, because my daughter did come over and my granddaughter to check on the plants, it was just, there were 3 different people trying to take care of one each plant, and that's just how it happened. I don't even know how to explain it all to you, and you probably really don't care. So I just want you to know that this plant is, it is revivable, and I'm hoping, like I said, I'm hoping to get new growth out of here, and if not, maybe both. Maybe I will get new growth, and these will root, and I will get a new plant. But the bottom line care for this is I use normal, very aerated potting soil. I have 2 other lipstick plants, and I have them in my east window in my dining room, and they're doing fantastic. They get very bright morning sun up until about 1 o'clock, and then goes around to the south window, so they're still getting pretty good light because those windows are in corners. And they love it there. So I'm going to try putting these cuttings in that window and hope that they like it there too. And I will bring an update and let you know how that goes. As far as moisture, I'm not a big sprayer of plants. I know that some people suggest that you spray them every once in a while, or with a foliar spray, which supposedly helps with the blooms. And maybe that's true. I don't know. I've never tried it. I've always been afraid to spray this with water on a regular basis because of the curly leaves. And when it's in a really optimal health, these leaves are very curly and very tight. Right now they don't look curly. They look all spread out. This one is a little bit, but they get real tight curls in them. And I'm afraid that that water is going to sit in there, so I don't like to spray them. But I know that there are some people who do. But other than that, she gets fed every time I water her, pretty much all of my plants. Once in a while I will water. I won't take the time to put the granules in my distilled water, but that's how I do it when I do. I just use like a 1/4 teaspoon. It calls for a teaspoon. I use a 1/4 teaspoon of granules of Jack's, and I put it in the gallon and I shake it up really good, and then I water my plants. So, and they seem to like that. They like a little bit of food all the time, and I'm always of the mindset that when plants are outside, they're getting their nutrients and their food from the soil and from the rainwater. So there's never a time when it rains and it's different from the last time it rained. So I just feel like a little bit of food all the time is much better than a lot of food once or twice a month or every 2 weeks or whatever. I know there's many people that do it that way with great success, but I just prefer to do it this way, and I've had pretty good luck with that. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. So if you have any questions on this plant or any other plant or just questions in general, please feel free to ask away. And in the meantime, I am working on my outdoor video as well, and I'll explain all that to you at a different time, but that's also been a challenge for me. So alright, my friends, curly lipstick, keep your fingers crossed for me, and I will bring an update. Thank you so much for coming. Hope you all have a great day. Bye now.